Sure.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 7. Jim, Marty. Just so you know, we're going to have a visitor on the podcast today. He's sitting at the table. Hint, hint. We've been talking about him in a couple of podcasts that we've had.
Yeah, we have.
And it'd be Drew Tyson.
Thank you. It's nice to be here, guys.
DRU.
Thanks for coming.
DRU.
DRU.
An uncommon spelling, which makes it even cooler.
Yeah, it's even better. But
I wish my name was spelled like... I can't come up with anything, but like
nobody
real...
like with a Y? No?
Yeah.
So you already go by your middle name.
Or like B-R-E-Y-E.
O-N-E.
Yeah, you're really reaching now.
That's the way it'd be spelled down on Luck Avenue.
Exotic.
Down on Pine Street, down on Abington.
Yeah. Yep, in the far reaches of District 5.
I love that place anyhow.
So, a couple things. Up until now, the majority of our podcasts have been dominated by fitness. However, when we started this whole thing, one of the things we talked about was we don't want it to be one subject specific.
We don't want to be typecast.
No. So, with that being said, this one is not so much about fitness. Now, we relay a lot of stuff back to that because we're highly involved in it.
Well, and fitness isn't just how big your fucking muscles are or how many times you can squat in a minute. Fitness is all-encompassing.
You know what I would call
nutrition.
it? I would call it mental fitness.
Yeah,
is what I
mental
would say.
fitness.
In fact, it would be the topic tonight.
And I don't know if you saw it or not, but we tied almost a whole half of a podcast, the whole half, about not liking the word fitness. But here we go.
Oh, yeah, I know.
We're right back to it. That's okay.
And
So
to be perfectly
well-being,
fair, to be perfectly fair, that is how I met everybody. Was through fitness and strongman training, and
Sure.
we definitely have a shared interest.
So the other part of the podcast was we got a list of people we wanted to have on. Drew's one of them.
Right, and if this is the first time, or if, like you're not putting the drawing the dots together to make a line here, we've talked numerous times about the Strongman Fridays, 11:30. We've invited everyone to come. Well, this is Drew.
Yeah.
This is who does it. This is who tells us what to do and comes up with wild shit for us to carry around. And
it's terrible, but it's awesome.
It's awesome.
I couldn't be more flattered to have the group that comes.
We have a good time, man. We have a good time.
Watching everybody suffer together is a wonderful thing.
Right.
Hey, what have I said before?
Yeah.
The greatest bonds you build in life are built through suffering with somebody
together.
else. Doesn't matter what kind of suffering, really, but that's the shit that makes you stick together.
Yeah, there's truth in that too.
And it's fitting. We have you two sitting next to each other. It's strongman. You guys like that stuff.
Yeah.
It's
fun.
It is fun.
It's good.
It's definitely Cody Dent's favorite day.
I can tell you that I got into it simply because when I grew up, there was nobody in my family that did any kind of weightlifting or strength training, and I was just enamored with superheroes. Mm-hmm. Absolutely just thought Superman was the greatest thing, and I just wanted to be strong.
Yeah.
And as time went on, I know that the barbells and dumbbells, those are all the tools to get strong.
Yeah.
But to me, being strong really wasn't about powerlifting. It wasn't about what you could bench. It was about doing things like superheroes do, like pick up cars.
Yeah.
And that's what strongmen do too. And that's how I ended up falling so much in love with that topic.
Sure.
With that type of training. You'll see they'll even put little cars around themselves and pick them up and walk with this harness.
Yeah.
And they'll pick up globes like Atlas, and it just fell right into place.
It's
for
pretty
me.
cool.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
That's a pretty cool fucking way to...
We talked
get
about
into
pushing
something.
Dent's vehicle.
Yeah, we should do that.
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe if we're lucky, we should pick it up sometime.
Maybe.
Just kidding.
How cool would that be?
It would definitely
We all
fall-
get together and just
Might-
pick the car up and carry it around the parking lot.
Might
Hey,
fall
we get
apart.
Listen, we get 9-10 people there. We might be able to pick up.
Oh, guys, I'm going to pick it up by myself. So I don't
Anyway,
know.
well, when you're done,
I'll tell you what, when you can do that, you graduate, right? We will do what you say from that point on.
Oh, yeah.
right. For sure. So, what are we here to talk about?
We got a few topics. A couple, at least. Drew, you want to
Sure.
start off a little bit?
I would say that, like, when they invited me to come on, my interest currently is in self-esteem and what I would call mental fitness. I think that when you go through difficult periods in your life, sometimes those are examples or time frames when you can do a lot of exploring and you can learn a lot of things. And I've gone through some difficult times, and I have learned a little bit about self-esteem and why it's important. And I would like to have opportunity to share it. So I guess the first question is, what do you think self-esteem is? Like, do you guys have an answer to that? What do you think it means?
Just try to define that real quick.
Well, that's
think
kind
it
of a
has a
hard
lot-
thing to say.
It
But
has a lot to do with confidence, I think.
yeah,
I would
sure.
like to say. But self Self-image.
Self-image, I would say that's an excellent description, yes.
It's hard to define it, I guess, without using its own word in there.
Right.
But I mean,
It's your picture of your own self-worth.
Right.
That's a perfect example.
So when we talked about this, I thought about a book I've read. It's a very popular book. Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Successful People.
Okay.
And chapter 2, I think, if I remember right, relates back to the self-esteem. And what it talks about is it is your own mission statement about your life.
Right.
A mission statement about your life. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
How you define what makes you confident in yourself. What make
and I wonder
values that you decide.
How many people actually sit down and define that directly?
Well, I know one, Ben Bergeron.
Yeah.
And he has a podcast.
I would say he does do that.
And
Yeah.
he will talk about it at length, even.
Sure.
Well, that's for some other times to talk about, but that's a great person to check out if you want to.
I love his podcast.
You want to talk about that stuff.
Have you seen any of them?
I have not.
It's a fitness podcast that literally never mentions fitness.
Very rarely, yeah.
Yeah.
He's definitely
I've heard his name
someone
before.
fantastic example.
He coaches Katrin David's daughter. He coached Matt Frazier for a short time. Brooke Wells, Cole Sager, tons of games athletes.
Probably seen him. But
Probably the greatest
see a picture of him.
CrossFit coach in the country or the world.
And he is very intelligent. His podcasts are awesome. They are awesome. Mm-hmm. But that's what I thought about Stephen Covey's book. I could have it if you'd be interested in reading it.
I might very well be interested in reading it. Yeah, I've got a stack of things I'm going through right now to read and listen to.
Sure.
If I would give my own definition of self-esteem, I would say that it is the reputation that you have with yourself. And I know that I have suffered from low self-esteem. I would even say no self-esteem at times in my life. And it's very popular to hear popular culture say that you need to love yourself. And that is what self-esteem is. But that's also pretty damn vague. You know, maybe that makes sense immediately to other people. That made no sense to me. What do I need to do? What do I need to do? I'll do the work. But what isn't?
Yeah, what's the path?
What
you
is
just
the
love you? Love me.
You just close your eyes real hard and squeeze and love yourself?
Are you who you want to be?
Right.
That's really the question right there. Is what do you want to be? What are the values and the standards that you set for yourself?
Sure. Yep.
And do you meet those promises? And those are questions people don't generally ask. I don't think you really set those consciously. I think those standards, those values are set as you mature, as you grow older. They're set by your parents for you in many ways, but they're there. And if you look, you will see the things that you need to do. I've often said that if you have a choice in life and you're unsure which direction to go, to look at the two and choose the harder path. Because almost exclusively, the harder path is what you really should do.
Do the hard things.
But you don't want to. You start scaling it back and you start making it easier on yourself until you find a compromise you can live with. And you take that path.
People get comfortable.
And every time you do it, you let yourself down just a little bit. And I'm going to give you examples from my personal life.
Sure.
There will be plenty of times that there would be things that needed to be done around my home. And I would not want to do it. And an easier way to feel good about myself would be to take my self-esteem from my friends or my wife or someone that actually just made me feel good about myself. But the harder thing to do would be to mow the grass or to put the shingles on my roof that needed done or paint the bedroom ceiling. But I would let it go. And every time I did that, I was failing myself, okay? And when you realize that that's what you're doing, it changes, or it has changed my outlook. I don't want to put shingles on my roof because my roof is going to leak if I don't put shingles on it. That's not the reason. The reason I want to put shingles on my roof is because I need to do it for myself, to maintain my reputation, to continue to like who I am. And the flip side of this is that if you continue to like who you are, people around you that are attracted to those same traits will also like you. Okay? And there's a myth in our culture that's called unconditional love. And we all talked about this a little bit before we did this. And for whatever reason, love is held to some different standard than other emotions. Come in.
Is it the police?
No, I don't think so. So, unconditional love.
Yes.
After a short intermission.
We had a little interruption.
For those of you who don't know, I live in the middle of nowhere, and I just had a visitor at my house.
Yeah. It was completely unexpected.
Yeah. So, we're on the topic of unconditional love.
Unconditional love and self-esteem. And so what I was saying was that the culture that we have likes to perpetuate this myth that love should be unconditional. That when someone says, I love you, that it means they'll love you no matter what, and they'll love you forever. Now, the way this relates to self-esteem is people will tell you need to love yourself. But your self-esteem is not unconditional. There are conditions that you set, and we talked about those. They're the standards that you want to live by, whether you're an open individual or you're honest all the time. You set those for yourself. And if you don't meet those, you will not continue to love yourself or even like yourself. If you continue to disappoint yourself over and over, you'll begin to loathe who you are, okay? What happens is the people around you who are attracted to you for the things that you hold valuable, like your self-esteem, like those same values, if you let those slip, they're not obligated to continue to love you either. If you don't love yourself because you're not keeping up with those values, they're not going to, over time, feel the same way. They're also going to let that love slip. And that's why I say that love really isn't unconditional. It is conditional, like every emotion. Every emotion has conditions. If you're afraid of something, there's a reason you're afraid of it. It's dangerous. If you have unconditional fear, like fear of spiders, that's a phobia, and it's a mental illness. If you're sad with no conditions, just unconditionally sad, that's depression, and it's a mental illness. If you just flat out love yourself for no reason at all, just unconditionally, that's narcissism, and it is also a mental illness. So love is not unconditional. It's not supposed to be.
It's pretty profound.
Yeah.
Oh, I knew this was going to be one of the deeper episodes.
Yeah.
Tupac sang a song about unconditional love.
What was it?
Yeah, unconditional love, I'm pretty sure. I don't know if that's the title of it or not, but I think it is.
I've never listened to
Well,
a
I think
Tupac.
there's a million songs about it.
Tupac,
There's no songs
whatever.
about conditional love because you know what? That's the hard way.
Yeah,
Right?
well, Tupac did one, man. I'm here to tell you.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I bet I'm going to look it up.
Yeah.
We'll make the outro of that song.
Yeah,
This thing we can do.
yeah, a little
That'd be
Tupac.
all right.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool. So do you think it has anything to do with humility in people? Just to dig in a little bit deeper, as if we weren't already deep enough in the sand.
How do you mean? Does it have
Well,
to do with humility?
Yeah. So do you think that ego and that ties in directly? Or do you think that it can? Because I think that it might.
Right. Makes sense.
What do you think?
Oh, I think it has a little bit to do with how self-aware you are too.
Sure.
So some people are ultra self-aware, which in some sense will create a lack of self-esteem, and some people have no self-awareness.
I think
or they have no ability to judge themselves.
I think the more self-aware you are, the better off you will be. I
You
think
just got to fight through it. Then
I think you need to look. I think you need to pay attention. You need to
Well, you have
live very consciously and not just coast and take the easy way out and eat the junk food of self-esteem. You know, that if I have good friends like you guys and you make me feel good all the time, I don't have to keep that standards up, because whenever I'm around you, you're lifting me up and I feel like, well, I'm a pretty decent guy. I got good friends. They all like me. But if I continue to let myself down, it becomes this sense of disappointment internally. And it's very easy to lean on your spouse in particular, because they're always there. They have this love for you. They're going to make you feel good. But again, over time, the reason they feel like they do is because you behave like you do to keep your self-reputation intact.
Sure.
Right, and this is the two things. First of all, I think when you're talking about if your love for yourself is ego driven, then you're approaching that border of narcissism, like he's talking about, which isn't really what we're talking about here. That true.
Well, I'm just saying it ties in, right? Because what he's talking about is forming yourself to lead yourself down the path that you want to go.
So the other side of being ego driven, being
I'm playing devil's advocate a little bit here too, and I'm trying to spark the conversation.
I think you do need to be very. It is the most noble type of love that you can have. I think you do have to take care of this.
It's humility. It's Jocko Willink. That's straight up what he talks about.
Well, and if you haven't checked that dude out, do it yesterday.
Yeah, do that. So in Extreme Ownership, he talks about humility. And leaders need to, everything that he does is about leadership. So he bases everything from his experiences around leadership. And he talks about how sometimes you need to lead, sometimes you need to observe from afar and be quiet and watch. And that's its own form of leadership.
It's all about balance. There's so much balance.
Right. It's all
you got to
about
balance pride and humility and all these other things to be somewhere right in the middle.
right.
To be
what you're talking about, though, that
good.
that so when the unconditional love and that loving yourself thing, when you let yourself down, generally when you fall in love with someone, that you guys fall in love with this version of yourself, and when you let yourself down over time and become something that you weren't in the beginning.
That's exactly
why would
right.
like you're saying earlier, why would that person still be in love with something that isn't what they fell in love with in the first place?
That's exactly right. And
Yeah,
why would you?
Right.
Why, when these were your standards? And this is what I think happens. I think everyone has a different set of things that are important to them. I can tell you, I told you guys before that I'm a very open man, and I appreciate people who are open, but not everybody does. Other people are more private. However, if I meet a woman that's very open, I'll find an attraction there because those values are the same. Okay? So the more values that you have that line up naturally with someone else's, I think the greater attraction between the two of you will be because you'll be more similar. Okay? You may find scenarios where you've got the same values, but one person is succeeding more at meeting those values than the other one. The other one may not have as high a self-esteem. They may not be working as hard to make their own reputation with themselves.
Sure.
Okay? And what you'll find then is that the one who has lower self-esteem will look at the one who has higher self-esteem, see the same set of values, and really, really think they're neat. They'll really be very attracted because they're succeeding at the same values at a better level. Like, that guy's really got the things that I want. And the other person will see the other partner and say, there's potential here. I like her, but I see things that are good, but she's not that great because she isn't at the same level. There'll be an attraction, and the closer the level, the stronger the attraction will be. That's my opinion.
It makes a lot of sense. That person that's already reached this level of achievement may look at that other person as a project that could blossom into
Right.
something insanely good.
See a kindred spirit.
Right.
Yeah. And that gets
And we're talking about the basis of why relationships fail too. Because if you let yourself be complacent, which we've talked about in every aspect of life,
right,
whether that be fitness, work, or anything else, and you slide slowly down that hill where you keep letting yourself down, and this person may be sliding down a hill too. But then you both kind of look at each other and think, well, that's not the person I fell in love with. And then they look at you, and that's not the person I fell in love with. And now you're in this place.
And those
Right.
conditions aren't met anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
But at the same time, just again, I'm playing devil's advocate here a little bit. I did a little bit of reading when
Right on.
Yeah, sure. So anyway, when we talk about team building, right? When we do that, we say you're good at this, and you're good at this, and you're good at this, and I'm good at this, and we can all be a better team because we're able to feed off of each other's strengths. You know what I mean? We compensate for each other's weaknesses, and become a better team because of that. And so when we work out with Brian, he's the strongest motherfucker in the room. So that elevates the rest of us, right? We're striving to get there, right?
Ideally,
we're trying to get there. That's the kind of thing that we're shooting for.
Ideally, in a partnership with a spouse or a mate, I think that you try to help each other. And if someone does start to slip, you don't just write it off.
Sure.
That's fucking key, right? I've experienced this lately. That's fucking key.
You get together and you talk, and you both say, "Let's keep fighting," because we've got things already. We know we've got these commonalities. Now, do we just walk away because somebody's slipping?
Because something got hard? Because you felt like because something didn't really tickle your fancy in that moment, that's fucking dumb.
Now,
and if you
because
ignore
everything good in life, it
if
just
you ignore
gets
it, it'll
worse.
keep happening,
Right.
and then at some point in time, you'll never be able to look back and pinpoint the exact moment.
But there's a lot of
It's
complications,
it's
too.
too far.
Well,
I
you
mean-
don't want to bring it up because you don't want to make somebody mad.
And both
You're like,
partners
it'll
have to
change
be
itself.
willing to look, and they have to be willing to look at themselves too.
Right.
You know, I mean, there's many things that can go wrong with that
Part of the
scenario.
problem is we live in a throwaway world.
Yeah.
Everything we have in this world is instant now. You want to know something? Like the actor Ron Swanson, what's his name? You get on your smartphone and you look it up and you
that's
have it in
fucking
2
Apple, man.
seconds.
Yeah.
You want to eat? You go through the McDonald's drive-through and you got a full meal. It's not worth anything.
Not really a meal, but it's
It's something that you can chew on.
Sustenance.
5
Yeah,
minutes.
in 5 minutes maybe.
right.
And you know that's the world we live in. You're automatically connected to 1 million people on the internet.
The instant
every day.
gratification from
instant
things.
gratification.
Another thing about that you're talking about team building, though. So that team is set up to do something, right?
Sure.
Generally, you have an objective, and then you work as a team until you accomplish that objective. Now, if that team was built to last over years and years,
Right.
and let's say Dent here was put because he has a good set of mechanical abilities. He's creative when it comes to that situation,
Right.
and something goes on. He starts letting himself down, and those skills start to fall. And he doesn't really he loses his focus on that. Now that team suffers just the same as a relationship would.
Right.
Regardless of what our role was at that time, I would be like, well, fuck, man. Now I feel like I got to pick up Den's slack here because he's not doing what he used to do.
Right.
It's the exact same scenario, just in a larger format.
And we've run into that. Quite
I would say,
often.
Yeah.
ideally, you would want to
But
be able
people
to go to
go
him.
through it too. Like they go through that at work. Like we got some people going through it now. I've gone through it in the past where really I came to work and I'm like, I got a lot of shit going on outside here, a lot of shit on my mind,
Right.
and I know that I'm not in the right mindset to always be like the most attentive at my job.
Right.
But I think that I can say for myself that when shit was serious, I was focused, and I'm still here, so that might be the case. But when it came to any other bullshit, harassment, another 8-4, nobody's injured, a car crash.
Gets monotonous.
Right, and I'm less like one eye on the problem, one eye in the clouds, ears ain't paying attention, staring right through somebody.
Is that why you don't answer your radio?
Hey, listen, he saw me last night. It ain't always me. Sometimes my radio doesn't work at all.
Well, that happened to us last week. You're standing right next to me calling out
Right.
something that didn't come through. I don't know about
I'm
that.
bad about that.
Every day.
I had the
Anyhow,
worst one.
we're not here to talk
Yeah.
about that.
No, but you can relate it back to life, right? You can relate it back to something that we deal with every day. So, like,
But the more we
even-
talk about it, we see that these basic principles that Drew's bringing up,
Sure.
it does. It applies to that team concept.
Right.
It applies on a one-on-one relationship.
and you
it
might
applies
think,
with a friend.
how does unconditional love, or the lack thereof,
Yeah.
apply to a team of police officers? But it can.
Well,
It
for
can.
sure, dude.
Now,
because
maybe not directly, but in a way.
in a way, because you wear that fucking uniform, dude, I will die for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Anytime, any day of the week. And I don't care if I don't fucking like it. We've worked with cops that I didn't care for, would not speak to outside of work.
Right.
But I'd still die for them
Right.
if I needed to in that moment. And that's got to be some form of unconditional love, not in the same.
Not
in
the same sense.
No, that's
respect.
that's a brotherhood of it's almost like the shared suffering. There's something unique
Yep.
there that other people don't experience, that I don't experience. I'm not part of it. I don't lay my life down. It doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And I get it.
Well, let me tell you, Drew, the best part about police work is it's group work, but the worst part about police work is
It's group work.
Well, you know what? The best
Exact same team scenario.
the best part about being a phone man is
Yeah.
that you're alone all the time.
Yeah.
And the worst part about being a phone man is
alone
that you're
all the
alone all the time.
Hey, we were sitting at briefing yesterday, and you came up, and I was you sent me that picture of, it must be some sort of, and I don't even know how to describe it, a junction box or something.
Oh yeah, the one that was hit by the car and
Had to be thousands of wires. I would not be surprised if he said no, there was 1 million wires there. I'd be like, I get it,
several thousand. Yeah.
right? And I'm
kidding.
like, he sends me this picture, and I'm like, what the fuck do you even do?
It's a mess.
It's a nest.
It's
of
a puzzle,
all
though.
these wires. Right.
it's a puzzle.
What it was a major connection point that a car had struck, and then and these things are like in a big, almost like a big green refrigerator that sits outside, right? It's got doors, you open it up, and then there's just thousands of connections. car had hit it, destroyed the case, and everything inside that was all nice and neat in order was all jumbled, just clusterfucked sideways. And rather than replace any of it, what they did was go get a brand new cover, like a big old case, and just set it down on top of the mess. Like it wasn't even bolted to anything. It had a dirt floor to it. And you walked up thinking it was brand new and opened it up and was just like, surprise! Like here's this bomb of spaghetti. Figure it out.
It looked like spaghetti.
Yeah,
a large pile of spaghetti.
Yeah.
Man,
Multicolored.
It's a puzzle. I mean, really, it's got.
There's not a phone man in the world that would open that up and not just laugh at what he saw.
Yeah.
Like, not just go, oh, good God.
Have you ever seen that meme? It's like, fuck it, and it's got the papers everywhere.
Yeah, right.
No, I'm just kidding. I need those.
That's like when you pull up on an 11-car crash. And that's what we were talking about. That's how it came up, because Vic was sitting there, and I'm picturing, if I go up to that crash, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to stand there for a second like, okay, and then I'm thinking about you opening that box and being like,
yeah, right.
It's the same thing.
That shit looked like Edward Scissorhands went to work on all that, man.
Oh, man. So we had an 11-car crash the other day.
What's an 11?
units, because one of them was a
That's how
person.
many cars were in it.
Oh, 11 people.
I ain't a code.
Oh, I thought it was a code, yeah.
11 cars.
Oh, man.
Yeah, no wonder you stood there like,
Oh, he wasn't there.
I wasn't even
No,
there.
I
I heard it on the radio and I stopped. I'm like,
I didn't know what to say.
shit, where was it?
It was right by Mattingly Foods. Yeah. I was like, I got a bunch of plates to run when you're ready.
yeah, I heard that. I'm like, holy shit, dude.
Because it didn't come
They
across
didn't
that
stop.
way.
Right.
That
11?
was there. Yeah, it was a mess.
I was actually excited.
But like, how do you get? Like, it's like
course
35
you were.
miles an hour there. How do 11 people hit each other going 35 miles an hour?
Wonderful question.
How do they manage that?
That's why I was excited to go. I wanted to figure
I
it
mean,
out.
I would think you'd be driving down the road and go bang, 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 bang. Oh, bang, bang. Oh, damn it. You know, like what the hell? You didn't see that coming?
It was something.
Wasn't there a
It
few
was something.
fences as well?
There was a couple fences and
Railroad
people.
railroad tracks.
And railroad tracks. Yep. I think, well, we can't get into details too much, but it was not good.
Yeah, not good.
It was not good.
I just remember thinking, I don't know what I was handling, but it certainly wasn't that serious.
Yeah.
And I was like, but because I was
Injuries?
I was 5.
Yeah.
And you got sent back at you were 2.
I was 1.
No, I was 2.
Oh.
He got.
Yeah, you were late.
before he was at work.
So
Like
4 and
car
1 got
numbers
sent to it. I definitely, if I wasn't one,
Oh,
you'd
have been there with
would
me.
have been there for sure with you. And I thought to myself, damn, I dodged a fucking bullet. I dodged a fucking RPG.
So who had to go? Who had to go?
Me and a guy that we worked with named Vickers. We plan on having old Paul on the podcast here soon.
And you can't say what caused it, or
We don't really know, to be honest.
That's why I showed it. I thought I was determined to get to the bottom of it.
Right.
was it raining?
No.
Nope.
Oh, nice day.
I was determined to get to the bottom of it.
He ran all the tests on the guy
Yep. And
The guy. So there was a guy that was responsible.
for all of it.
Wow.
so usually
I mean, the report's done,
in a
right?
You should have seen the drawing.
I wanted to. Well, so you got to figure location. How many motors pages? Just one.
Yeah, just one motors page, but
And
there's
there's
only
11 unit pages.
11 unit pages
And then a diagram
and an occupant page.
and an occupant page.
at first.
So you had 11, 12, 13, 14 or 15 pages that went into this one report.
And that's just the drawings?
And
Is that what
one
it is?
of
Or
them
that's
is the
that's-
drawing.
Okay.
And that in
The rest of
itself
it's
is
narration for each.
time-consuming. Yeah, so it breaks it down.
Now, does
When
one
you-
officer, is he one officer responsible for the entire report
Yeah,
for all
we
11?
checked
Or?
everything.
We helped each other. Remember when I told you about teamwork?
Yeah.
Okay, that was good. Yeah, there was 3 of us.
Three of
chipping
us
away on it.
involved in that one. Yeah.
But when you take a crash, let's say all 4 of us were involved in the crash. Okay, we have to record everybody who was sitting here's information: their driver's license, phone numbers, all that. Okay, how fast they were going, were they wearing a seatbelt, were they ejected, were they trapped, was their airbag? Did their airbag go off? Okay, then on a separate page, we have to put the owner of the car and their information, the insurance information, what type of car it was, where the damage was out in the car, how severe was the damage
For
what
every
direction-
car.
For every car.
what direction they were
and
traveling.
every person involved.
And if it were,
Any special features to the car? Like, was it an ambulance? Was it a cop car? Was it a tow truck?
Operating in autonomous mode.
Yeah, was it operating
Motherfucker, what?
automatically? Yeah. What else?
yeah, thanks Tesla.
Contributing
Shit.
circumstances.
Give us a whole
It's-
other box.
Yeah.
It's time consuming. It definitely is.
Really, but if you get like a 2-car ACDA,
It's
man, you
not-
can knock it out in like 6 minutes. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like But
6 minutes. That's a record.
I think you like to do the report itself.
Oh,
you
maybe,
think?
yeah, maybe
Like
so.
pop, done.
Yeah,
I'd be impressed.
Not like on scene. Oh, I can knock out an ACDA, son.
I'd be impressed. I was being pretty prideful about like
Where's your humility?
like a 15 minute like crash report, like to do.
You
it
mean
on the
like
computer?
from on scene to
No.
clear and sent?
Oh no.
See, this guy, he's all about the traffic.
Yeah.
He likes
He
traffic
ought to
tickets,
he ought to
traffic
been a
crashes.
trooper. He's a trooper in a policeman's uniform.
He is.
There's a lot.
That's okay. We still love you.
Yeah. Remember what I
Sounds
said
like he's got a
about
place.
I had a
Make it-
late call
listen.
last night, and it was on Westbourne. And I'm like, and Dan got sent there with me. I'm there quite a bit before him, and I'm like, I wonder if he knows where Westbourne is.
This is an area I don't travel to so often that when I
This
ask
is an area you don't travel to ever.
I ask for Crossroads.
On the radio?
No, over the phone when they dispatched me, and I said, "Can you give me Crossroads?" And they're like, "Oh, don't be like that. Just go to the call." I'm like, "No, I'm serious. I need the
The
Crossroads."
crossroads would be like Dryden
Dryden and like
and
Indiana.
Virginia on the other side,
Yeah, I
right?
think it'd been Indiana. It was the next closest or something, but
Indiana's in the middle
Indiana.
of it, yeah.
so. I mean, I almost drove past. I had to
Yeah.
slam on my brakes and Dryden.
I
did you
saw
get there?
lights.
I got there.
He did.
I got there.
And he did radio traffic for me because my radio was not listening. Yeah.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
I mean, he was standing right next to me. There was a dude in that house.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
So
We got off track.
we're getting... No, we really didn't. We're just tying it all together.
Yeah,
We're
we're good.
tying it into things.
Yeah.
We're right on track.
Exactly.
The only other thing I have written down is, I think we've kind of already touched on, is love is hard to define. Emotions are very hard to define.
Yeah, we talked about that briefly before we started this.
They're not concrete.
I'll tell you, if I have also often been confused about that varied emotion.
Right.
The general consensus that I see is that love is more quiet and it is more giving. Certainly there's been times in my life where I really thought that I loved somebody and that I hurt badly because I couldn't have them. But that is more a selfish need. That is more about how I feel rather than trying to be caring for the other person.
Sure.
So it does call into question, if you feel lovesick and your heart's breaking, who's that really about? That's about you. That's probably, there's a term that they call limerence, and that means kind of the feeling of being in love, right? That the need for attachment, and I can tell you that definitely applies to me a lot. That I have that need for
Well,
attachment.
nobody wants to be alone.
No,
I mean, nobody
You can
wants
act like you want to all day long.
Sure.
But it's when it happens out of the blue, you're like,
a miserable ride sometimes.
I would say there is an exception to unconditional love.
Okay.
That you can have unconditional love for your children. I think there is a bond there that's kind of genetic.
Maybe.
That your love for your child doesn't depend on how they behave or what they do. But most people just love them anyway.
Well,
most people is a key term because
That's true.
there's a
Yeah.
lot of, and it's generally, I'm not going to say generally, but
I'm going to throw
it
something out
sways
there.
to the
We deal with a
fathers.
lot of pieces of shit that
Yeah.
don't do
Don't give
anything
a fuck
with their
about
kids.
their kids. And a lot
They'll
of
abandon them,
men that never,
but the other end of that is people who get addicted to drugs and victimize their family members.
Well, drugs are a tough topic because
They are
that does make people behave
in a strange manner.
in a different way.
Yeah, it
like
does.
those.
I read a piece once about how men are predisposed to not love their children as much as women, and people like me and Drew won't be able to identify with that because we have such love for our children and are active fathers. But because of the fact that genetically we can produce many, many more children than any woman can, so they are.
I would agree with that.
They
Actually,
are built to. They're built to love that the few children that they're able to produce much more and care for them much more than we are.
I do think that probably in general, a woman's love for her child is probably superior to a father's. But that doesn't mean that a father's love is not tremendous. It certainly can be.
Right.
Right. But like you guys just said, you see more deadbeat dads than you do deadbeat moms.
Absolutely.
And I think it is that genetic component.
I pause there because it's not like we don't see deadbeat moms.
Right. They're out
We
there.
do.
Pretty regularly.
We see them less often.
Right. Or we
you
just
say less
don't see
often?
the dad at all.
Yeah.
I would say
Right.
is one of the things that we, and you know what? That would be a perfect time to talk about something. our program coming up with Big Brothers Big Sisters.
Yeah.
Where
So we're going to stamp the name on it, or are we going to keep it fluid?
I think we should probably keep the name out of this yet because we want to really come down hard on something. But what we are doing, and I know we've talked about this before, is working with these kids that have had a parent, in a lot of cases a father, abandon them, and they don't have any kind of strong, positive male guidance in their life. Mm-hmm. So we want to offer that to them, and keep your eyes open in the coming weeks for us to push this on social media and get it out there, hopefully shared by as many people as possible to get some of these kids involved.
It looks like it'll be starting early 2020, if I had to
early
guess.
2020, and maybe
can you extrapolate a little bit on what you guys are actually going to do?
Sure.
What it's going to be?
So what we plan on doing, so it's a little bit loosely defined. They're giving us a lot of rope as far as what we do, but the main goals, there's a couple main goals we have. One, we want to bring kids into what we do on a daily basis as far as physical fitness,
mental fitness, like we're talking about today.
We're talking about training them for life, really.
Right.
We want to instill in them good principles that will get them through life.
Right.
And we want to also interact with them in a way that, what's the word I'm looking for here?
The idea that I'm thinking of here is like he's talked about earlier. When you look at the two choices, and the hard one's probably the right one. What did we say after that? Do the hard things. So we want to teach these guys that doing the hard things is generally the way to go.
Sure.
We say generally, but you can go on a limb and say always the way to go. And we're doing that with an anchor in physical fitness because we can teach them how to fight through struggle in a safe environment. And show them, through physical fitness, that there's a way.
There's a lot of life lessons to be learned through fitness or physical activity, and that, like sports. I think the sports I played from the time I was a kid until I finished school, the sports that I played taught me more life lessons than anything else I was involved in. Mm-hmm. I didn't have a lot of other things to be involved with. I mean, I had minimal jobs and everything to go off of, but sports teach you a lot of stuff. A lot. I mean, they teach you how to take constructive criticism, how to follow simple instructions, and set goals for yourself.
Team play.
Teamwork, get along with others, and find your own strengths and things like that. And those are lessons that are not easy to teach to youth in general, especially youth that are troubled and do not want to follow authority of any type. Right. I mean, and I'm not saying that bad kids are harder to work with per se, because all kids are kind of hard to work with. I was a stubborn kid. Sure. I'm sure there was many times I was not easy to work with. So
I was what you might call a piece of shit. I was a fucking little asshole.
But I think this will give a good chance for an alternative program for kids that
they just fucking need hope, dude. They need somebody. They need to be shown that they care, that somebody out there cares about them. And what better also than to build a relationship and show them that, maybe I did arrest your dad a couple months ago and you ain't seen him since, but I care about you, dude. Right. I only did what I did because I had to do it that day.
We don't want you to go down that path.
No, we don't want you. We want to show you that we're not bad people. We're just here to help.
I think you can make a direct correlation between working hard in the gym and doing the hard thing in real life too. Sure. Yeah. When you begin a workout, I've said before that the part that's in the beginning of your workout is the part that's really just in the way. You have to go through the beginning part, the part where it's easy or not as challenging, to get to the part that matters. And that's the end. That's the hard part. Once you reach the hard part, everything you're doing at that point matters. It's all growth. But you have to go through the easy part first. Right. And
preach on it, brother.
It's kind of the same thing.
Exactly it.
If you have a choice between the easy thing and the hard thing is the one that's going to give you the growth.
Yeah. Right. Have you ever heard me back when I was coaching you? Have you ever heard me say in the midst of one of these like nasty fucking Metcons, I get all pumped up and I'm jumping around acting like a fool, and I'll be like, this is when we get better. We don't get better when it's easy.
Absolutely.
We don't get better when the sweat's not dripping and you're not sure you can go any further. This is when we make gains. This is when we make progress.
Yep.
In the worst moments. Yeah. And it's that way in fucking life in general, man. And the worst moments is when you get better.
Oh, it's so true.
You make a choice and you do it, right?
And you get better in the face of adversity.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
And honestly, if things never get hard for you, you're never going to get better. If you are able to just eat the junk food and stay sedentary, you're going to stay exactly the same way. You are never going to grow. Yep. It's never going to happen.
Yeah. And before we end this, I think that, and I don't think you really went out at length about your junk food.
The mental junk food.
Mental junk food.
Yeah, I think you need to describe that.
That
because
is
it's
what we're
brilliant.
going to title this episode.
Yeah, mental junk food.
Yep.
Mental junk food is just the easy things that we will do to feel good about ourselves. The things that make us think that we're still fulfilling our own reputation with ourselves. The easy things. The example that comes to mind is, for me, mowing the lawn. I don't like to do it, but I know that I need to do it. However, if someone else were to say to me, no, go ahead, sit down, play your game, I'm going to go mow the lawn because I want to, I would let it happen. And it made me feel good because, hey, I could sit and I could play a game, and I was also letting myself down. Even, it's not that I need to go mow the grass because the grass needs cut. I need to go mow the grass because I think less of myself if I don't take care of my business. And that's what it's an easy trap to fall into, taking the easy way out, eating the mental junk food, letting someone else make you feel good about yourself rather than doing the things you need to do to feel good about yourself.
Right.
Mental junk food.
Cool. The last thing to wrap it up is a word from our sponsor, Narkill Fitness, Narkill Strength and Conditioning.
That turns out to be all of us now. But we're always better in teams.
Yep.
And we hope to see you again soon.